Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of my Cedar Point Recreation Park. In the last episode we got a bit coaster crazy building some of the park's biggest attractions, continuing to try to get the park layout figured out. Today we're going to change it up a little bit and work on tweaking some of the stuff near the front of the park. I've got a big list of to-dos and I want to get some of it cleared out when I can, so that's what I'll be working on today. Want to give a big shout out to everyone who has commented so far. I've gotten a lot of really great tips from people in comments, things that I overlooked or just like general things to try out. And I've been accumulating a list of things and I want to get some of them knocked out today, especially at the front of the park where we've already gotten things pretty much hammered out. For example, the Blue Streak station was a little bit wonky with this like downwards dip into the station, so I want to get that flattened out and also make sure that there's room for the transfer track, get all that added in, and just fix a couple other random little things, missing paths, little scenery glitches, nothing too major. Also, as a result of building Valraven a couple episodes ago, I noticed that there was a lot of space behind the Raptor layout, and if we were to move the back half of the Raptor back a few tiles away from the midway, that should give us some room for Cedar Downs, which I mentioned was kind of blocked by the layout. So, spent some time trying to get the Raptor moved around a little bit. I was really happy with its original layout, but I think this is a good compromise to get a little bit more of the park in. I definitely want to try to include all the rides when I can. I don't want to omit something like Cedar Downs just because of a little layout issue like that. And it turned out to be pretty easily rectifiable, so that will be nice to get it in there when we can. It's still going to be a little bit cramped, but shouldn't be too bad. So in addition to some little tweaks on those coasters, I also decided to start working on some of the other flat rides in this area, specifically the shoestrung rides. It's been a while since I've done any shoestringing, but I figured this would be a good place to kind of get back in the swing of things, get more comfortable with it. If you're not familiar with what shoestringing is, it's a ride hack method. It's been in the game for quite a while, but OpenRCT2 has definitely made it a lot easier. And basically what happens is you use special track merging techniques to split your train into two sections. Generally you've got one car underground on a control track, and the rest of the train will be on some sort of loop track on the surface level if you're building a merry-go-round style ride like I am here. And this allows you to create some pretty interesting rides that normally you couldn't do in the base game. There are quite a few different merry-go-round style rides at Cedar Point. We've got obviously the Midway Carousel here up front, but additionally there are a bunch of little flat rides in Kitty Kingdom that are operating in basically exactly the same way and should be pretty easy to shoestring. Not too complicated. Once I get my bearings back and remember all the tricks on how to do this, it takes me a couple tries for both of these rides. First time I tried the carousel, I wound up putting the entrance on the wrong side, so I had to basically do the whole thing over again, but I'm happy to get a little bit of extra practice, so not a huge deal. Did finally manage to get there in the end with the carousel. Also had to use the same ride vehicle editor hack as I did with the giant wheel to make the horses individually colorable. A little bit tedious to color all 40-some horses, but I think the end result is going to be worth it, hopefully. Once we put a roof on this thing, you won't even be able to see most of them, but I'll know that they're there. Just one of those little personal details that I enjoy adding in. Not a whole lot else to talk about with today's episode, just a lot of little tweaks. We cleaned up the ticket booth of the entrance so that the queues and exits were aligned in such a way that the ride could be opened without the game constantly yelling at me that there weren't any correctly lined up paths. So I think that's working. Guests are lining up for the tickets, which is pretty fun to see. Made a couple little adjustments to the pathing for the Sky Ride, edited the roof on Hugo's a little bit. That's going to get continually tweaked as we go along, of course. And I also noticed that the spokes on the giant wheel were a little misaligned, so fix those up. Nothing too major. Little quality of life improvements that are going to make things look nice overall. Finally, we did get started on Kitty Kingdom with the mini sports cars ride. I'm not even sure if this ride has a name. I'm sure it must have a name. It doesn't show up on Google Maps, and I haven't looked at a park map yet to see what it's called. There's lots of little rides like this in this part of the park where it's just a tiny little ride, not a whole lot going on. The kind of ride that you wouldn't even really think twice about if you were a coaster enthusiast going to the park. But I think adding in rides like this is going to add quite a lot of charm to this park build. I think it wound up looking really nice. And once we add a few more of these in here to this area, it's going to look a whole lot nicer than, say, just adding in the vanilla flat rides. Just a little bit of an extra custom touch to the park. But anyway, that is going to do it for today. Again, if you've got any comments, suggestions, please let me know in the comments. I love reading your tips and tricks and hearing what you guys have to say about the park. I think next time we're going to head back into the back of the park with some more layouts and maybe some coaster builds on the north side. Continue on with getting the park layout fleshed out. So hope you enjoyed this episode. Thanks for watching.